Hi, everyone. Welcome to this Grad Center mini workshop on designing a research presentation, specifically targeting research happening within the College of Engineering and Computer Science. So before going any further, just a little bit of background on me. My name is Dr. Jamie Booth. I am a professor in the Department of Mechanical Engineering. My research is conducted under the heading of the Bio-Inspired Mechanics Lab. We study natural systems, like the gecko that you see on screen here, to try to make new engineering materials based upon the principles that are harnessed in nature. Currently, I have 3 master's students and 9 undergraduate students working on this research, so lots of opportunity to talk to my students about how to design presentations. So hopefully I can convey some of that to you today. Because of the shortened version of this workshop, I thought I would boil everything down to 4 key tips that I would give someone who's presenting research for the first time. The first is that you should always put the audience at the center of your design when you come up with your presentation. Next, you should always follow a well-defined structure so that the audience can understand where you're at within the presentation and manage their intake of the information that you're providing them. And then within that structure, you can use the transitions between sections to emphasize key points from the last section and where you're about to go, again, to benefit the audience's comprehension of what you're trying to tell them. And lastly, when it comes to designing slides, my number 1 tip is always to prioritize simplicity and use real estate wisely when designing slides. So I'm going to elaborate a little bit more on each of these tips before rounding out this video. Okay, so the audience, always at the center of what we do when we design a research presentation. And what we can think about is the level of audience expertise. Everything from a non-scientific person all the way to someone who is a subject matter expert, maybe in your very specific field of research. And you should think about the audience that you're presenting to and where they sit on that spectrum and tailor your presentation to them. So if you think about what you're trying to convey in a research presentation, it can be everything from the very big picture impact, motivation for your research, current challenges and gaps in understanding, all the way through to the niche details of physical behavior in the system that you are studying, important trends, and maybe even future avenues of research that have been uncovered by your work. And so for a non-scientific, non-technical audience, you're going to want to focus much more on the early bullets here, on the big picture, on the major challenges, on the impact of what you're going to do. A subject matter expert is already going to know those basics, and so you can move down and increase the focus on the very niche details of exactly what you did in terms of methodologies and eventual results. Next, you'll always want to follow a well-defined structure. Here's an example of a typical structure going from motivation, review of the literature, what's been done in the problem in the past, the specific objective, what gap are you trying to address in the current knowledge, methodology that you use to address that, results, discussion, and conclusions. So you would want to bring this structure up as you transition between sections, maybe highlighting the section that you're moving into, to let the audience know where you are at in the overall story of your presentation. That's going to benefit their comprehension. As you transition between these sections, you can emphasize what the important takeaways were from the previous section and how that leads into what you are about to describe. Transitions are an excellent point to emphasize your major conclusions or sub-conclusions from each section. Now we have seen that this was true, it motivates us to consider the following. Lastly, when designing slides, you want to use real estate wisely and prioritize simplicity. So A typical rule of thumb is no more than 1 slide per minute of presentation. Otherwise, the amount of information is going to be overwhelming. You're going to be moving too quickly through your slides. Okay. Don't be afraid to omit some results in favor of more clearly explaining the ones that you do include. You can mention other things that you did and say, if you would like to discuss that with me, feel free to contact me. Okay, so be a conscious editor of your own presentation in what you decide to include versus not. And then lastly, really prioritize simplicity on your slides. There is no need for fancy transitions or huge logos taking up a large portion of every slide, because that is valuable real estate, and all it's going to do is distract your audience from what you are trying to convey to them on that particular slide. You can use real estate wisely. For example, rather than just saying results as the heading of every result slide when the audience member probably knows that you're describing the results, you could actually put the main conclusion or takeaway from that particular slide that you're describing. Okay. There isn't a need for bullets on every slide. You can mention things in what you are saying that aren't necessary to include in bullets, and you want to make your plots and results that you're presenting easy to interpret. So things like figures which allow the audience to interpret what every parameter in your problem is, for example, can be very useful. With that, those are my 4 key tips for designing a research presentation, specifically focused on engineering and computer science research. My contact email is here if ever you have any questions about giving a research presentation. So thanks for listening, and good luck with your research.